Hey, what is good, YouTube family? We are here today. It's not a Madden or an MLB video. It's just an NFL video. You guys know I love football, everything NFL-wise. And NFL's been doing their top 100. And it gets a little controversial at times because, you know, everyone cares where your favorite players are or players on your favorite team. Or even the players themselves seem to they seem to care. So they released like the top 10 yesterday. So I just want to sort of go over that and see, do we think that this is accurate or close or whatnot? And I mean, it looks fair to me, honestly, and I'll break it down. So we got Aaron Rodgers in at 10, which let's say last year he was 6. Got injured, so it makes sense that he drops. It's one of those weird things where whenever a player doesn't play or they get hurt or something like that, if they were really high, they usually fall down, generally. And this is one of those cases right here. We all know Aaron Rodgers is maybe the most talented arm. Obviously not the most winning quarterback or have the most Super Bowls or any of those things, but everyone loves A-Rod. So just him in the top 10 in general anywhere is fine because he's still a guy you do not want to play. Up next, we had Von Miller, who was 2 last year, 9 this year. Makes sense. His year wasn't nearly as good, but Von is he's an absolute force. I have no problem with him anywhere in the top 10 whatsoever. He's probably the most consistent, rush linebacker we've had in years and years and years. Consistency year after year. Putting up numbers. Now, this one sort of surprised me. Was Drew Brees going from 16 to 8. Now, I'm an Atlanta fan. Drew Brees scares me to death when we play the Saints. To me, I've seen him probably play more than any other non-Atlanta quarterback throughout my years, and he's a wizard. He's amazing. I don't really have a problem with him being in the top 10 because I think he is one of the three best quarterbacks in the league. For sure, in my opinion. Brady, Rodgers, and Brees right now. Those are the top 3 in my opinion. There's someone else that's made their way up here. But track record sort of will put them there and eventually possibly. But Drew Brees moved up. He had a great season. Not as statistically impressive as he has in the past, but nonetheless, if you've ever played against Drew Brees, you know he's a nightmare. This one surprised me. Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year. Just an absolute monster. Maybe the best actual defensive player in the league. And in a league that is run by quarterbacks, I would expect, quarterbacks to be ahead of him. But from a talent-wise, from an impact-wise, I'm surprised he's 7th. I would have figured he would have been top 2, top 3, sort of that spot where J.J. Watt had occupied in the past, because he's a monster. So it's a little surprising that he's at 7 to me. But again, he's in the top 10. The top 10, you could shuffle them around for the most part. It doesn't really matter, but it's nice. And then at 6... we've got Todd Gurley, who had another great year. He was unranked last year. And a lot of the times, I follow Todd Gurley at UGA. I'm a UGA fan. And he was a monster. And I love his skill set that he can do. And what he does and what Bell does, you guys can sort of see, he's at 5, is... he catches the ball so well out of the backfield. He is dynamic. It's, a lot of times right now we're getting into running back by committee situations on a lot of teams. And the 2 teams who don't really do it a lot, the Rams and the Steelers, it's because their backs really do absolutely everything for them. They are super talented. Not to say that there aren't other running backs in the league who are near their talent level, but you watch Todd Gurley, he literally does everything. He reminds me a lot of Brian Westbrook sort of back in the day with a little more power, a little more speed, stuff like that. Great. Just a great player. Surprised he wasn't ranked last year anywhere. But, I mean, Todd Gurley, he's a monster. He's a fantasy monster, too. And then Le'Veon Bell, who went up from 9 to 5 this year. Most patient runner I've ever seen. Just does work, but he really, a lot of his statistics are based on how many times he gets the ball, because he doesn't really share the load. So a lot of times his stats really look very, very impressive. And you can look at stats one way, you can see that. But if you actually watch him play, it's not a question of who is the most talented, because he truly is. He's different than every other back in the league. Now, Julio Jones at 4, right? Julio Jones at 4. I'm a homer. I think Julio's the best player in the league, but I totally get why he's here. 3, 4, whatever he is, it's fine. And personally, with his production he had last year, now he didn't get all the targets he needed. His numbers were a little down on touchdowns. I get it, but to me, Julio at 4 is perfectly fine. Even if he was a little lower, if he was behind Bell, if he was behind Donald, even I honestly would have been perfectly okay with it. No problem there whatsoever. Because I'm of the argument that Tonio Brown and Julio are 1A and 1B as receivers. But from a talent standpoint, Julio's the most talented. But from a productivity standpoint, Tonio Brown has done it. So no problem there. Up next, can you guys see that perfectly? We can. Carson Wentz at 3, which is kind of surprising to me. Now, Wentz was going to be the MVP. He was having a remarkable year. Maybe he even, continues what Nick Foles did and leads the Eagles to the Super Bowl. We don't know. It's all speculation. But from going unranked to number 3, that's a big jump. That's a big jump for 1 year's body of work. But Wentz is good. He's good. The Eagles were kicking ass when he was in charge, when he was still on the field. So I don't have a problem with him being high. I don't like that he's ahead of Aaron Donald. Just specifically Aaron Donald. I can see why coming into the year people would put him ahead of Brees and ahead of Rodgers. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think I would put him maybe at number 4, the fourth quarterback. Maybe put him at 10. I'd be perfectly okay with that. And then whatever he does this year, he's got a chance to move up to number 1 if he kicks ass. That's fair. Number 2, they had Tonio Brown. Again, no problem here whatsoever. Business was booming for him. He's great. Everything about him. And he's probably going to be on the cover of Madden, is my guess. Like I said, even though I'm a Julio fan, AB being higher right now, no problem. And then, of course, number 1, Tom Brady, back-to-back. He's if he's not the greatest of all time in your opinion, he's up there. He's up there in the top 3. It's fair. We're watching someone. We might not see anyone this dominant ever again. It's just the truth. But I enjoyed going through the whole list. If you guys want to watch all the stuff, it's on NFL Network. They do a lot of videos on Twitter too, on the NFL Network's Twitter handle @NFL Network. So go check that out as well. You can see all your players and your teams, and it's a fun thing. And what I enjoy doing more is, instead of just seeing this, is watching the videos that they put out to describe how the other players in the NFL talk about the players. I find that very interesting to get a different insight. When we see commentary on players, a lot of it really is around analysts. And that's great. And some of the analysts, are former players, Hall of Famers even. But getting the insight from people who have actually played against these guys, it opens your eyes and gives you a bit of a different concept and a feel of how good some of these players are. So go check those videos out. But I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's not my normal videos, and I get that. But with Madden being a little dead, I'm trying to do some different things, have some fun, talk about some things I really enjoy, and get the year sort of going back. Football's just around the corner. and we need to start moving ahead. And we're getting there. So let me know if you guys, do you agree with the top 10, not agree with the top 10? Who would you have put in? Who would you have taken out? Put it all down below. I'm CC and I'm out. Peace.